right, welcome back to the Living You podcast with Rich and Jess. Jess, we were just talking as we were prepping to record today how since we're kind of starting a podcast and we feel like hopefully people will want to listen to us, that's kind of the point. But we realized like people might not know a lot about you or me, and generally people want to know a little bit about who they're listening to, what maybe gives them the authority to speak, what gives them their passion, what gives them their knowledge, and do you want to just spend a few minutes talking about kind of who we are, where we are right now in our professional career potentially, and then also a little bit about future thoughts, and then also what got us here, and who you are and who I am as a person. Is that super overwhelming?
Yeah, no, I think that would be good. I would preface that with if people care, because I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people want to hear, our thoughts and on specific topics and things. But I do think it's important to have some kind of a context. And I think the most important thing I think I really want to drive home is just why we wanted to do this podcast. I think we both have similar thoughts on that, but probably different nuances of thoughts on that. But I think just as a service, being in real estate and having clients that we take care of and service every day, answer real estate questions, guide them through a process. There's more to it than that I think we don't really get to talk about because we're going through a process and there's a very specific function that we have, which is, their agent in their real estate purchase or sale. And there's just so many other things that go into just even being able to do that I think we want to be able to talk about those things almost behind the scenes a little bit and really have this be focused on people thinking about stepping into real estate and being able to get a little bit of insider working knowledge from us. I think is part of the service that we provide anyway, but this allows us to get a little bit more in depth would be my initial thought.
Yeah, there's a that's well put. I think there's this whole thing with anyone that's producing content for public consumption. It's a little bit of like know your the avatar of your target, right? Of your consumer base. And we talked about this for a long time leading up to committing to trying to record stuff and put out there for the public. But essentially, we're trying to walk this semi fine line between a resource potentially for professionals just to get someone else's opinion on how the process works, but also more than that, probably a resource for people that are about to do something in real estate, whether it's buy, sell, invest, whatever, and get some insight, thoughts, peeks behind the curtain without going too crazy, but just kind of like a marriage of the life of an agent and what we see customers, clients experience where they either are, confused, disappointed, optimistic, love part of the process, hate part of the process, don't understand part of the process. And, our goal is to help everyone to understand a little bit better, right? Essentially.
For sure. Yeah. And I think understanding fully what options are, a lot of times it is just, hey, I'm looking for this very specific thing or I'm selling this very specific thing. But a broader real estate context, I think, is important too, the landscape of it. I know that you spend a lot of time looking at articles and even just someone reading a headline. How do they really know how that affects them locally? So being able to also provide just context within their purchase and context within their sale, I think is really important because, again, they read headlines and a lot of times, the headlines are there to incite an emotion and to get you to read the article and, follow that news source and be emotionally invested in what they're saying rather than always giving you what really actually is happening, what actually pertains to you. So I think just digesting headlines, digesting national news as well as local news, and being able to then repackage that for the people that actually live here and say, well, here's what this actually means for you. I think that's a huge opportunity for people to be able to listen to someone who's got, I've got 15 years experience, you've got 7, 8 years experience. I mean, combined, we have over 20 years experience in real estate and life, right? Being in our mid 40s, we can relate a lot of information back to people that I think is also really helpful to give them that context.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I think for me, like, there's something about even our fundamental title that always sort of I never felt completely aligned with. We are licensed real estate salespeople, and if you look at like public opinion polls, we are right there with used car salesmen and snake oil, stuff
Snake
like that.
oil.
But you and I both truly believe that there is a space for true professionalism in the industry. We strive to provide that and to always put the right intent behind things. And that's not to castigate other agents and say they aren't, but in general, there is that schema that we are maybe just thinking about the bottom line, where there's that whole, like, in the industry you talk call it like commission breath. It's just agents who you can kind of tell just really want the deal to get done or to get paid, and really don't really truly have your best interest. Now, we are licensed salespeople, but I really truly think that we're more a real estate advisor. Like, I think us more like a CPA for your real estate holdings. We are going to help you to figure out what it's worth, when's the right time to do something different. Maybe we pivot. It's a lot of advisement, and we're a thought partner in your real estate holdings, not just a transactional project to project. We did a deal, closed it. Thank you very much. I got my check. Thanks. Let's move on. We really, it is more than that. And maybe that's something I've struggled with at times because we're busy. So it's hard to be busy and care tremendously about everyone you're involved with. But fundamentally, that's our goal, is to care, to strive to provide high quality service, and to keep your best interests at the core of our process. And along the way, maybe that does involve some education and some longer discussions, but also every client or customer is different. So they might just want, everyone's different, right? So some people just want the facts and the figures and let's do this. And some people need a lot more support emotionally, cognitively, whatever, in the process. So I think it's a super nuanced industry, but I just never love calling myself a salesperson because it feels like it doesn't describe what I do.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, again, there's a lot of knowledge that goes into this. And unfortunately, it's one of those industries that you study 77-hour course, you take a test, and then you get into real estate and realize, I don't know anything about this. And then it's up to your brokerage, really, or a mentor, or your broker, if you're with a smaller outfit, to then teach you, guide you through the process, show you everything from paperwork to how to have a conversation, how to price things, how to do a showing, how to properly, present an offer, and the do's and don'ts and the legalities. And you don't know anything when you get into this industry, and it's terrifying how easy it is to get a license. And we talk about that all the time. So I do think it's really important that people take that very seriously. And if they know that they don't know a lot, bring a mentor on, co-list it, work with the buyer or something. Like, people they want to make the full commission because they get in, they kind of think it's a job. They don't know that they've opened a business. The same if you've opened a deli and you need to buy things, you need to, you've opened a deli, you need to have you need to have inventory. Like, you need to call Boar's Head and get a delivery. Like, they don't get that
That meat
you're going
slicer
to
is
have
expensive.
expenses. Yeah, and you're going to be out of pocket before you make any money. So if your emphasis is, oh, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to sell houses, no, you're opening a business. So I think as well, for the consumer, you have to somehow meet with an agent and ascertain whether or not they are actually running a business. So looking at their listings, reading reviews, call on one of their current listings and see how they handle you as a potential buyer. See how they set up a showing. I mean, just explore. Yeah, I think you should be like a secret shopper sometimes and explore your
Good.
agent and see how they deal with somebody, because you got to find the exact right person that's been doing this. And I'm not saying a new agent can't, but the new agent can tell you, hey, I'm a new agent, but I have a coach, or I have someone that's going to be going in with me. It is too important. What you buy, what you sell is one of the most important things you're going to do in your life. Sometimes it's the most wealth a person ever has. So you have to have someone that's really knowledgeable. And I want you to just do your due diligence on such a high level that you really know who you have and you really understand the job that they're going to do.
Yeah. I think you and I both, I think we both really like being thorough. We like being good at it, right? I think there's
Hmm.
a pride that at
Hmm.
least I very much strive to be very proud of my service. Don't always succeed, but that's my goal. And I think that there's just, and maybe this is not just real estate agents, maybe this is just humanity or America or whatever you want to kind of broadly cloak some kind of statement. But I think that there's just a lot of people that are goal oriented and not process oriented. They are, bottom line oriented and not necessarily filling in the middle with the important stuff.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of, there's like a lot of hollow service, I think, out there. Maybe that's or anyway, this is like really big picture stuff. That's not where I thought we were headed, but yeah, I just personally want to be a great professional for you, my whoever I'm working for, and um, that's my goal. I just wish that was everyone's goal, right? I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely zoomed out and got a big picture, but I do think that's part of the conversation of who we are, that we understand all of those elements. It doesn't mean you have to list with me. It just means that
Yeah,
you really should consider these things and consider this advice. You can
yeah.
call me and ask me who a good agent is, and I'll tell you the good ones.
You got to be
It doesn't have to be
comfortable
me.
with who you're working with. You got to be able to have a conversation. You have to, to some degree like them. You don't have to be best friends, but there has to be a comfort in knowing that your concerns will be addressed, that your lines of communication are open, that you feel like you're a priority. And if you get the hint that your agent is not treating you like a priority in their life, then it's a pretty bad signal. And again, I think that our intent is clear, but as someone in the consuming space, those are the things that I would look out for. Do they respond? Do they do they ask you why questions and not just what questions? I think
Yes.
those are important things.
Yes. So, and I think to pivot back to what you actually wanted to talk about.
Hmm. Yeah.
um, yeah, the whole point of putting this podcast together, and we came up with the name Living You because again, it's more about real estate. It's about how you live. Your life looks very different than the next guy's life, and what your house. I thought I said something yesterday. Let me remember my own quote. Your house is where your life lives. I was like, oh my God, is that brilliant? Um, or am I just a silly goose? But no, your house is where your life lives. So that house has to function for your specific life. So living you came about because we do want to talk specifically about how people live and what's
Yep.
genuine for them and authentic for them and what their needs are and where they can relax, where they can dream, where they can spend time with their family, where they can work, where they can, rest. There's just so many things that go into your house. Your house serves so many purposes. It's not just where you live, it's where your whole life lives. So we coined this Living You so that we can talk about not just the real estate. As you said, that's one layer to this, but life in general, and what people are facing, whether it's affordability in the real estate landscape that we talk about a lot, or affordability just remember when eggs were like $1 million and gas prices and things are energy costs that we talk about a lot. Yeah, all of that also goes into living you. That's
Yep.
part of your life. So that's kind of a broader explanation, but that would be all encompassing of what we really wanted to be able to cover as well.
Yes. So in terms of that, we also at times will talk about what it means to be living us. So my story, your story. So tell us, Jess, in a short synopsis, what got you to where you are today? And that's a big topic too. We both have we both have
Huge.
long stories, and we could try to truncate this, but just as a quick summary,
Living Us by Jess and Rich.
a chance to talk about ourselves.
I mean, sure, why not? Well, I guess if we're looking at the context of real estate, quickly how I just got into that. I was unemployed. I am a former photographer. I've been in management. I've managed retail stores, photography studios, primarily have a degree in photography. I always liked people and I always liked houses. I was that person that went on the Corcoran website. If you're in the city, then you definitely know Corcoran, the real estate firm. I would go on their website and look at their beautiful listings. And I was in between jobs because photography really took a hit. I guess, 2010, 2011 was when I basically got licensed. It took a hit because everyone had a cell phone now with a camera on it, so it was a lot easier for people just to kind of do their own photos or whatnot. But anyway, I would go on the website just for fun, and saw this like $22 million 33 room incredible townhouse on the Brooklyn Promenade, and I'm reading the description, looking at the pictures, and I'm just in love. It's just delicious. And I scroll down, and there's this dude, this basic, average dude, and it says, "Call me for questions." And I literally had this thought that was like, well, why can't they call me for questions? It was this odd moment of, why don't I just get into real estate? I love this. Yeah, so that was kind of that was the moment that I
Yeah.
decided to get my license.
And then to tie that in, that then you realize there's a relatively low barrier to entry, just meaning the actual legal training is somewhat small. So
It
you
was too
can
easy to let me
it
in.
was it's too easy. It's too easy to let no, but that's kind of my point. Similarly, I think a lot of people get in because it is easy to get in. Now, whether you last, different story. There's a huge not all agents succeed, but that's an interesting sort of entry into that. I don't think I knew that little part. I didn't know you were just looking for work, to be honest.
Hmm.
My entry to real estate was different. I have an education and science background, and at the time I was working for a local pharmaceutical manufacturing company. I was in their quality control lab. So I was in a lab coat doing chemical studies all day, and that was never very edifying, but also it was a very secure facility because of it was actually opiate products we were making, and so it's highly scrutinized, high levels of security. And I'm not some like flaming, liberal or anything. I'm not like free, like I'm not super liberal in that sense of like I don't want anyone oversight or anything like that. But when I was going to work every single day, it's their job, but the company had to like basically body scan you. You had to walk in with like clear, transparent bags with your lunch, and
Mm.
just there's no zero trust, right? Because they have to. They can't trust you because you could be walking away with opiates or whatever. But it just never sat well with me because I'm like, I'm trustworthy. I'm not going to steal your product. I'm not the guy that's going to cause a problem. I just want to come to work and I don't want to have to like bring my sandwich in a clear bag. And something as
Hmm.
little as that just kind of aggravated me every single day. Every doorway you walked through, you had to like scan yourself in so they could know where you were every moment of the day. And at some point, my soul just felt like I was getting crushed by like the oppression of this like secure environment I was in. And after a while, I was looking for something different. And then I happened to have a romantic relationship at that time who was in real estate. And the more questions I asked, I was like, that sounds like a pretty fun gig. You get to like plan your schedule and walk around free will and like everything that I wasn't experiencing. I was like,
Stuff isn't in
that
clear bags.
sounds
That's so weird.
exactly, that sounds better to me somehow. So yeah, I got into that
Yeah,
that way.
amazing. I mean, I love that too because it really shows your high level of integrity. You want to be trusted. And when people want to be trusted, they are actually trustworthy. I think
Yeah.
that's a great, trait to have in our business. And I think for me, getting into it, what I quickly realized was that people really need our help. And if I can give you another Jess quote, I always said we can't be irresponsible with the amount of responsibility we have when we guide someone through real estate. Again, the most wealth a person could ever have. Um, so fell in love with the aspect of helping people and just for myself, just my own goals in my life was always to, build a tribe of people that belong and that, are loved and valued and accepted. So the idea of a brokerage and the strong culture at a brokerage was really important to me. I always aligned with other agents and working together. We're not individuals, we're not competition. We're all very different and have different strengths. So real estate also was able to accomplish for me creating a tribe of like-minded people that were good, and of course the ones that survive. You can get in, but can you survive? Most people get out within 2 years. I think 80% of agents get out in
Mhm.
2 years. So we're in that small 20 percentile of people that survived. But also created this awesome culture that you get to bring clients into as well, where they feel loved and appreciated and supported. Where, I would say my real estate business is a giant hug around me, where I get to be in the center of this love fest
Mm.
of people. And I love people so much, which, Rich calls me the Care Bear.
Yeah.
But I just love that so much, and creating such a positive, accepting environment from my clients where they're like, wow, I've never, felt so fully supported as a human as well. So there's the real estate element that you need to be knowledgeable, but also there's a human element that I take very seriously. And I get so much joy out of just being that care bear and being that resource for someone, and just being the one that's going to help them today and really change their life for the better. It's worth more than any commission. I'm just obsessed with that outcome, that I actually end up being friends with them at the end.
Yeah, that's so true. You are much more of a true people person than I am. I think I'm good with people, and we can go into my philosophies on that at some other point. But I'm good with people. I'm not naturally as good as you. It takes a little bit more, I would say, like cognitive work on my end. Maybe that's my sciencey background. Um, One thing that I learned when I got into real estate that I didn't expect was how much I would enjoy the people. Um, to your point just a second ago, there's like some psychological studies on like altruism and things like that, which are, I do something good for you because I also know that I'm going to get something good for me back in
Yes.
return. Or we work together for the mutual benefit. Um, it's like little things like if you're a human being that you walk into a doorway in public and you know someone's coming in behind you. There's some people that will hold the door. There's some people that
Yeah.
won't. There's some people that might let that person go through first. Like everyone has a slightly different approach to that, but I'm a door opener, and I frankly I feel good when I do that, and that's like, so it helps them because whatever, it helps them, but also I'm getting positive feedback from that because I feel like I've made that person's day that micro bit better, right? Whether they wanted me to open it
Yes.
or not, I don't know. I don't know their motivations or mindset, but I just think that like you've got to some degree want to help someone, and the
Mhm.
reward is that helping someone helps you feel good, and that's what I think you're saying. I didn't realize that that was going to be such a big part of it because what I most of the time enjoy is what I said earlier is the sort of the freedom of schedule. There's a lot of parts of real estate, and I like diverse things. So I used to switch jobs all the time as a younger person because I felt like I learned the thing, I got good at the thing, and then I kind of got bored with the thing, being really
Mhm.
good at it. And this, I still think I'm pretty okay, but there's always something to learn. There's always a little niche, or there's always a different way to do something. So I find real estate to be fascinating for that reason. There's always new data for the data part of me. There's always new techniques. There's always new tech. There's always new properties to learn about.
Yep.
There's always new client personalities to manage, and there's always new negotiations to handle. Every day is like honestly quite different, and that's highly appealing to my brain because all those jobs that became repetitive became extremely unrewarding after a while, and this is just reward after reward after reward. So it's on the
True.
kind of satisfies my process mind. It satisfies my helping people core, and it also is a way to make a living. So it's a lot of good things rolled into one for me. So I'm happy. I
True.
used to
I mean,
change jobs like every 3 years. Sorry, Jess. I used to change jobs like every 2, 3
mhm.
years in my earlier life. I've been in real estate for 7 years, and there's not a day that I wake up and I'm like, I wish I could do something different. There maybe used to be a few days now and then when I was super super overwhelmed, But now that I've kind of developed my business a little better, I don't feel that at all. I love it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually was that person too. I used to move every 3 years, let alone change jobs. I would move to another city, move to another state, and just start my life over, reinvent myself many, many times. And I ended up 15 years in real estate. It was pretty nuts. And one of the things that it also did is it grounded my whole life. So I actually stayed in my last house the longest I've ever been in. I think we were there 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, it definitely grounded me in terms of it gave me everything I needed that I didn't feel like I had to move. You can make enough money. Obviously, money isn't the first is not the thing I emphasize. The money comes when you take good care of people. So I never had to worry about money, which was amazing. Because when you have a job, you're working because you need money. Where this is, if it's a career, it's a business. But if you take really good care of people, you'll have plenty of money. Just focus on the people, the money will come. So I was able to create a lifestyle. I was able to support myself and my family, have extras, live the way I wanted to very comfortably because I poured into finding those people who really needed my help today. And
Yeah.
there's people that just they have to move. They are in, and I have a buyer right now that they have to move, and they have a very strong set of challenges against us. But I have spent more time, and I'll probably make the least amount on that. I've spent more
Yep.
time on that and that family than any other thing, because it just matters that much to show them that someone really does care and
Yep.
someone really does want them to be successful. I just freaking love that.
Yeah. That's one of the truisms. That's great. I love that. That's definitely one of the weird truisms of our industry. We, in our local market, we're a relatively low average price point market in the grand scheme of things. And then even from there, we're helping people at times that are, their home value is on the low end, or they're a buyer with a limited buying capacity. And those are the people that it is harder to achieve their goals because they're so limited, through market constraints or their own personal economic constraints or whatever it is. The the higher end homes, oddly enough, they're oftentimes an easier they're an easier thing to work with. The home kind of presents itself beautifully already.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
sellers are or the clients are oftentimes kind of it, I don't know how to put the correct words into it, but not like they don't care as much, but there's like
There's
a
not as much at
confidence.
stake.
There's not
Yeah.
as much at stake, truly. It's like I have this great
Hmm.
home. There's a lot of equity here. I'm gonna be fine no matter really what happens. It's just a matter of like the nuts and the fine details. Whereas you're
Yes.
talking about people that like I have an apartment and I'm potentially gonna be without a home in 2 3 months. I need a plan and I need to execute that plan. That's a hard situation, and we're gonna work hard to advise you the best way possible and get you that end goal. But oof, that is a tough go. So yeah,
Yes.
those there is almost an inverse. The
Hmm.
nicer the thing, the easier it is at times. Um,
Yeah. No. And
Not
and
always, but
you definitely like I said, the money comes, and you're going to make a little bit on this one. You're going to make a lot of bit on that one. It's fine. It'll average out. You'll live, but you could spend the majority of your time on lower end deals, because those families need the most help and they have the most challenges. So you have to be prepared for that too. So that's why this isn't for everybody. Again, we said the bar is very low. But if you're in it to just make a commission, there's plenty of stuff I was not paid on in 15 years. I went to the closing table once. I was helping a buyer buy something that got paid zero. And I went to the closing with them because I loved this family so much and just was excited. And I walked in and the seller was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm their agent." And she looked very confused and very concerned. Like, "Well, I don't have to pay you, right?" I was like, "No, I'm not. You can if you want, because I also helped you too, whether or not you know that. I was helping in the background and got all their stuff together and, made this happen. But no, you don't have to pay me. I need to help this family." And so it happens. And then there's stuff I send someone to an open house in Brooklyn And all of a sudden, it's $750,000 contract, all cash, full commission, and all I did was send them to an open house. I mean,
Right.
yeah, it evens
And
out. It's
it
fine.
evens
You
out.
don't have to focus on that. Just do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great story. There is one part you're not talking about. That you said like the you care about people and the rewards come. That is true, but also it is work, right? We are not like working 2 hours a day. I'm a full-time agent. I don't really
Hmm.
clock my hours, but there are long days, right? It's not easy, but it's easy when you like it. So I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not like it just magically happens. You do still have to work, or at least I still have to work at it.
Hmm.
But either way, we both love it, and we just thought this would be a fun little dialogue to just a little peek behind where we got to where we are now. And do we want to spend time on where we're going, or is that a topic for another day?
It could be a topic for another day.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
just you've got a solid foundation. I have one more Jess quote. I wanna get into this conversation since you've gotten the other two that were so good.
Okay, okay.
And I just, yeah. But I think the main thing that we do as an agent, you're being hired to help someone with their real estate transaction, and you can kind of make decisions and navigate things on their behalf. So what I'll leave you with is, um, you have to do for other people what they would do for themselves if they had your knowledge. And that, I think, encompasses everything. What would they want me to do? And this is how I train newer agents. I was a coach, a real estate coach for 5 years. And even before that, I used to bring new agents with me to my open houses, and all their first commissions were me because I wanted the help. I understood leverage even way back then because I was running a business. But the knowledge that we have, is invaluable when you're in real estate and really understand the nuances of it, from market to just houses to just values to just anything, and how to navigate, how to put an offer together. You always have to ask yourself, what would this person want me to do? If the answer is, well, the seller would want you to call that person back, because sometimes you get a call from an agent that really, frankly, is not a very good agent and you really don't want to work with them, but they have an offer. What would your seller want you to do? Your seller wants you to call them. The seller doesn't care that this person's a bad agent or whatever. The seller doesn't care that there's some kind of weird history. The seller doesn't care. Take yourself out of it,
Oh yeah,
please.
for sure.
What would your client want you to do? Your client would want you to make this happen for them. So just do it. Stay out of your own way, and and go. Just represent them.
Yeah, that's well, I love that quote, and I do think that is part of that process that you like. I think not everyone is different. Some people will want to learn as they go, and some people will just want the thing to get done. So I think there's a little bit of reading the person or the people you're helping, but it's a big selling something, buying something is a big deal. And I would hope that as agents, I would hope that we're teaching and educating a little bit along the way, you know, things to things to look out for, things to be aware of, and you know, things about their own house even that they might not have even known they should be paying attention to. Right? There's a lot of those things that just little tidbits, but
Hmm. And I love when
I
they're
don't.
surprised. Like, even
Yeah.
one of the houses Rich and I went to go see, like, they were a little bit worried what they could get for the house, and we, do a CMA, figure out valuation, and it's more than they thought. So I love that too. That's always a good conversation where you get to really,
It's nice to be the
because
bearer
of
of
your
good news.
knowledge, yeah, and because of what you know. But we're always going to be honest about what something's worth or what they should offer or what they should list for. But when we can do a little bit better, that's definitely fun, and good for them. It's an investment, and being able to have a nice return. That's the other nuts and bolts, the mechanics of the real estate industry. Yeah, it's a business, but the again, being able to handle that side of it, and then being able to handle the people, and that's why Rich and I are a good fit because the smart is important, and the heart is important. Where Rich is asking about systems and when was your electric updated and how many ampage do we? And I'm like, wow, whatever. And I'm like, this is how you tie a scarf. Remember that? Me and the
Yeah,
wife
and
tying scarves.
I do think that's part of why, well, it's part of why we work well together, but also it's illuminating to me because that's one of the cool things about real estate is that, and maybe this is how I'll conclude my portion of this, but there
Hmm.
is no one archetype for who can be successful, right? There is a broad range of human communication styles that can work.
Yes.
Uh, but at the core of it is still, I believe, is caring for their best interest and knowing how to get what is in their best interest, right? Whether the mechanisms you can employ to get them their goal, and whether you are loving in the process or whether you're data driven in the process is everyone's own style and personality.
Hmm.
But I like that every agent that we work with, you can see has their own thing going, and you can succeed in a lot of different ways. But again, that end goal is always just to basically be someone who can. Again, it's not for me to circle it 100% back. I'm never thinking about a sale. Really, truly, never thinking about a sale. I'm thinking about,
Hmm.
does the property make sense for you as a buyer, or how can I market this and sell this the best way I can for you if you're a seller? And that's like those are my two set points. And then the sale happens through the work we do to help the people.
Yep. I love it.
That's all I got on this one.
I mean, yeah, that's I think that's a lot, and peek behind the curtain, like you said, and what motivates us. And again, the podcast really is this conversation is, hopefully to help someone, to help whether it's educate or just give them some insight on real estate, or again, living you
Yeah,
authentically.
absolutely.
So,
Well, thanks for listening, and we will be back with more of this kind of stuff soon.
we certainly will.